Welcome back to the channel, where old coins tell powerful stories and small change can turn into big money. Today we're diving into one of the most loved and collected coins in the United States, the wheat penny 1-cent coin. These pennies were produced from 1909 until 1958, and for many people, they bring back memories of childhood, family collections, and forgotten jars filled with copper coins. But beyond nostalgia, some wheat pennies are so rare and valuable that they've become true legends in the world of coin collecting. So settle in, stay curious, and let's get started. First up, wheat penny that many people overlook, the United States of America wheat penny 1-cent coin from 1952, without a mint mark, in circulated condition. At first glance, this penny looks completely ordinary. It's brown in color, shows signs of wear, and feels like just another old coin. But once you understand its history, demand, and collector appeal, this humble penny becomes far more interesting than most people ever imagine. The 1952 wheat penny comes from the final decade of wheat cent production. By this time, the Lincoln wheat penny had already been circulating for more than 40 years. America was entering a new era after World War II, and coins from this period reflect heavy everyday use. The Philadelphia Mint, which used no mint mark, produced a large number of pennies in 1952, and these coins were widely circulated across the country. Because there is no mint mark, many people assume the coin has no value. That assumption causes countless examples to be ignored, spent, or forgotten. However, collectors know that value isn't determined by mint marks alone. Condition, originality, color, strike quality, and demand all play a role, even for circulated coins. A circulated 1952 wheat penny tells a story through its wear. The softened details on Lincoln's portrait, the smooth edges of the wheat stalks, and the natural brown tone all show that this coin was used during everyday life in mid-20th century America. These pennies bought groceries, newspapers, and candy. They passed through millions of hands during a time of economic growth and cultural change. Collectors often look for circulated examples that still retain strong details. Even in worn condition, if the date is clear, the wheat lines are visible, and the coin has a clean, natural color without harsh damage, it becomes desirable. Original circulated color is especially important. Coins that haven't been cleaned or altered tend to attract more interest than bright or artificially shiny pieces. The 1952 wheat penny without a mint mark is also popular among collectors working on complete wheat cent sets. Many people aim to collect every date from 1909 to 1958, and demand for mid-date wheat pennies remains steady. Because of this, even circulated examples maintain consistent interest in the collector market. Another reason this penny stands out is its composition. Made primarily of copper, it carries intrinsic metal appeal that modern pennies no longer have. That solid copper feel adds to its charm and long-term collectability. Over time, copper wheat pennies have become symbols of a bygone era, making them increasingly attractive to both new and experienced collectors. Some 1952 wheat pennies also show minor minting variations, such as weak strikes or slight die wear, which add character to each coin. While not dramatic errors, these subtle differences remind collectors that every coin is unique. That individuality is part of what keeps the wheat penny series so engaging. What truly makes this coin special is how easily it can be overlooked. Many people still have jars of old pennies at home, and 1952 is a date that often goes unnoticed. Yet for collectors, finding a clean, honest circulated example with natural color is always satisfying. It represents history you can hold in your hand. The wheat penny era came to an end in 1958, just a few years after this coin was minted. That makes the 1952 penny part of the closing chapter of an iconic design. Coins from this period bridge the gap between early American coinage and the modern era, giving them lasting appeal. If you own a 1952 wheat penny without a mint mark, take a closer look at it. Examine the surfaces, the color, and the overall condition. Even in circulated form, it holds historical and collectible value that goes far beyond 1 cent. Coins like this remind us that not all valuable pieces look rare or flashy. Sometimes, the most meaningful collectibles are the ones that quietly survived decades of use and still carry their story today. Next up. This is the United States of America wheat penny 1-cent coin from 1944, without a mint mark, in very fine condition. At first glance, it may seem like just another old penny, but once you learn its story, its era, and why collectors still care deeply about it, this coin becomes something far more special. The 1944 wheat penny was minted during one of the most important periods in American history. World War II was still shaping daily life, and the U.S. Mint was under pressure to produce coins efficiently while managing material shortages. Just 1 year earlier, pennies were made of steel to conserve copper for the war effort. By 1944, copper returned, but not in its old form. These pennies were struck using recycled copper from military shell casings, giving them a unique wartime connection that collectors find fascinating. This particular penny was produced at the Philadelphia Mint, which is why it carries no mint mark. Coins from Philadelphia were distributed nationwide and saw heavy circulation. Despite that, finding a 1944 wheat penny today in very fine condition is something collectors truly appreciate. Very fine condition means the coin shows honest wear but still retains strong details, clear lettering, and well-defined wheat stalks on the reverse. When you look at the obverse of a very fine 1944 wheat penny, Lincoln's portrait is still sharp. His hair details are visible, the jawline is clear, and the date is bold and easy to read. The word liberty remains strong, and the motto "In God We Trust" is complete without fading. This level of preservation shows that the coin circulated, but it was treated with care over the decades. On the reverse, the wheat ears remain well outlined, with visible lines and separation. The words 1 cent and United States of America are clear and balanced, and the overall design still feels crisp. This is exactly what collectors look for in a circulated but respectable wheat penny. The color also plays an important role. A natural brown or light brown tone, free from harsh cleaning or damage, adds greatly to the coin's appeal. The 1944 wheat penny without a mint mark is especially popular among collectors who build complete wheat cent collections. Many collectors aim to assemble every year from 1909 to 1958, and wartime dates like 1944 hold special importance. They represent resilience, adaptation, and a nation pushing forward during difficult times. Another reason this coin remains desirable is its copper content. Unlike modern pennies, wheat cents were made primarily of copper, giving them weight, warmth, and a classic feel. Holding a copper wheat penny instantly connects you to a different era of American money, one where coins were built to last. Collectors also appreciate the 1944 wheat penny because it exists alongside one of the rarest era coins ever made, the 1944 steel cent. While extremely rare steel examples capture headlines, normal copper pennies from this year gain added interest simply because of that connection. It reminds collectors that even common-looking coins can be part of extraordinary stories. Very fine condition strikes a perfect balance for many collectors. It shows history through wear but still displays the beauty of the original design. Coins in this condition are often preferred over heavily worn pieces because they better showcase the artistry of the wheat penny series. This coin also appeals to new collectors. It's old enough to feel historic, connected to World War II, and visually attractive without being fragile. For many people, a 1944 wheat penny becomes a gateway into deeper coin collecting. If you have old pennies at home, especially wheat cents, take time to inspect them closely. Look for clear dates, strong details, natural color, and signs of honest circulation. A 1944 wheat penny without a mint mark in very fine condition may not look dramatic, but it carries history, charm, and steady collector interest. Coins like this remind us that value isn't always about being the rarest or the flashiest. Sometimes, it's about history, preservation, and the story a coin tells after decades of use. Next up. Today, we're shining a spotlight on one of the most iconic pieces of U.S. coin history. The 1942 wheat penny, 1 cent coin, without a mint mark, in very fine condition. At first glance, this penny might look like any ordinary coin, brown and worn from decades of circulation, but when you look closer, its history, rarity, and collectability make it far more fascinating than most people realize. The 1942 wheat penny comes from a pivotal time in American history. The United States had entered World War II just a year earlier, and everyday life, including coin production, reflected the challenges of a nation at war. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced this coin without a mint mark, struck millions of pennies that circulated across the country. These pennies were used in stores, schools, and homes, passing through countless hands, yet some of these coins survived in remarkable condition, like the very fine examples collectors prize today. A very fine 1942 wheat penny shows clear signs of circulation, but it retains strong detail and charm. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait is visible with notable features. His jawline is defined, hairlines are distinguishable, and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" remain legible. The date, 1942, is sharp enough to be easily read, which is critical for collectors. This level of preservation demonstrates that while the coin experienced daily use, it was handled with care and survived decades without serious damage. The reverse side, featuring the classic wheat ears, is equally important. Even in very fine condition, the wheat stalks display their structure, with visible separation and defined lines. The inscriptions "1 cent" and "United States of America" are intact, giving the coin balance and appeal. Collectors often focus on these details because they indicate how much the coin endured and whether it retained its original beauty. A natural brown color, without cleaning or artificial enhancement, adds significantly to the coin's desirability. One of the reasons the 1942 wheat penny is so valuable in very fine condition is its role in the broader wheat cent series. Collectors aiming to complete the entire Lincoln wheat penny set, from 1909 to 1958, need coins like this to fill a mid-series gap. Even though the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of pennies that year, finding examples that survived decades in very fine condition isn't easy. Coins like this balance accessibility and collectability, making them highly sought after by both beginners and experienced collectors. Another fascinating aspect of the 1942 penny is its historical context. While the U.S. was producing these copper pennies, the mint was also experimenting with other metals due to wartime demands. In 1943, pennies were made from steel to conserve copper for the military, making the 1942 copper penny one of the last normal copper cents before this dramatic change. Holding a 1942 penny is like holding a piece of pre-war American history, a small but tangible connection to the era. Collectors also value very fine 1942 wheat pennies because of the consistency in strike and design. By 1942, the mint had perfected many aspects of the coin's production. Coins from this year typically have strong details on Lincoln's face and on the wheat ears, making them attractive for display or for inclusion in a complete set. Unlike some earlier or rarer era coins, these pennies are widely recognized for their historical significance and beauty. Even though a 1942 penny without a mint mark in very fine condition isn't the rarest wheat penny in existence, it's a perfect example of a collectible coin that's attainable yet still holds value. Many collectors appreciate that it tells a story of its time, survived decades of circulation, and represents the enduring legacy of the Lincoln cent. Its combination of historical importance, original color, and wear pattern make it a compelling addition to any collection. If you happen to come across a 1942 wheat penny in very fine condition, take a moment to examine it carefully. Look at Lincoln's portrait, the date, the letters, and the wheat stalks. Appreciate the natural color and the smooth edges that have survived over 70 years. Even if it seems ordinary at first glance, this coin carries a story that connects you to the daily life and history of America during World War II. Coins like this remind us that collectability isn't always about extreme rarity. Sometimes, it's about the combination of history, preservation, and charm. The 1942 wheat penny, without a mint mark, in very fine condition, is a perfect example of that. It shows that even everyday coins can be valuable, educational, and historically significant. Next up, focusing on a classic piece of American history, the 1957 Lincoln wheat penny, minted in Denver, with a D mint mark, in circulated condition. At first glance, this penny might look like ordinary change. You might have even seen it in your pocket, a coin spent decades ago at a corner store. But for collectors, even circulated examples of this coin hold value, history, and a fascinating story that makes it worth a closer look. The 1957 D wheat penny is part of the final years of the Lincoln wheat cent series, which ran from 1909 to 1958. By this point, the design featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and two wheat stalks on the reverse had become an American icon. While millions of pennies were minted that year, the Denver Mint produced a substantial portion of them, all marked with the familiar D mint mark. What makes certain 1957 D pennies desirable today is not just the date or mint mark, but the way the coin survived decades of use. Even in circulated condition, the coin retains key details that collectors value. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait, though softened by circulation, still shows the overall outline of his face, hair, and jawline. The inscriptions, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty" remain legible, and the date, 1957, can still be clearly read. These elements are important because they demonstrate the coin's authenticity and provide insight into its condition over time. The reverse side, featuring the iconic wheat ears, is equally important for collectors. Even in circulated condition, the wheat stalks should retain their basic outline, and the inscriptions United States of America and 1 cent should be legible. Circulation naturally wears down some of the fine details, but a coin that still retains its original design and natural copper color is considered a solid collectible. The natural brown tone is particularly appealing, as it shows the coin has not been artificially cleaned or damaged. One of the reasons the 1957 wheat penny is valuable in circulated condition is its connection to the closing chapter of the wheat cent series. By 1958, the mint replaced the wheat reverse with the Lincoln Memorial reverse, marking the end of nearly 50 years of the wheat design. Collectors completing full sets of Lincoln cents need coins like the 1957 to fill those mid to late series years, which sustains their demand. Copper composition also plays a role in the coin's value. Unlike modern pennies, which are primarily zinc with a thin copper coating, the 1957 wheat penny is solid copper. This gives it weight, a warm color, and a certain durability that contributes to its long-lasting appeal. Even circulated examples maintain some of that original shine beneath the natural patina that develops over decades. Another fascinating aspect of the 1957 penny is its mint mark, the D for Denver. Some collectors specialize in mint mark varieties, aiming to collect each date from Philadelphia, Denver, and occasionally San Francisco. The Denver minted coins often had slightly different striking characteristics, and subtle differences in planchet and die quality can make certain examples more attractive. Even circulated pennies can show these traits, which is why collectors pay attention to both the date and the mint mark. Although the 1957 wheat penny isn't as rare as early 20th century pennies or famous era coins, circulated examples are still desirable because they are relatively easy to find but carry historical significance. They connect collectors to the everyday American life of the 1950s, from school lunches and pocket money to small transactions in local stores. Each coin tells the story of decades of handling, commerce, and even survival through decades of circulation. Collectors also look for coins with strong eye appeal. Even in circulated condition, a 1957 penny with uniform color, minimal corrosion, and no major scratches or dents is highly prized. Coins that have developed a smooth, natural brown patina are considered more attractive than those that have been cleaned aggressively or damaged by chemicals. Collectors appreciate the honesty of a circulated coin that shows age gracefully. The 1957 wheat penny is also interesting because it represents a transitional period in American minting. The Lincoln cent was approaching its next evolution, the Lincoln Memorial reverse, and coins from this period reflect both the craftsmanship of traditional coinage and the growing industrial efficiency of the mint. For collectors, coins like this are more than money, they're a snapshot of mid-20th century American history. Even in circulated condition, a 1957 penny can play an important role in a collection. Some collectors seek coins for educational purposes, showing students or beginners what a mid-century penny looked like. Others use them to demonstrate differences in mint marks, striking quality, or the natural wear patterns that accumulate over decades. Each coin has its own story, and even circulated examples are part of that narrative. If you happen to come across a 1957 wheat penny in your collection or even in loose change, it's worth taking a moment to examine it. Look at Lincoln's features, the date, the mint mark, and the wheat stalks. Appreciate the color and the texture of the copper. Even coins that appear ordinary carry history, and every coin has the potential to spark curiosity or start a deeper interest in collecting. Coins like the 1957 wheat penny remind us that value isn't always about rarity or spectacular errors. Sometimes, it's about preservation, historical significance, and the story a coin carries through decades of circulation. This penny is a piece of mid-century Americana that survived countless hands and transactions, yet still retains beauty and collectability.